Hello everyone, this is SouthpawHare.
And this is CloudCuckooCountry.
Hello. Today we are going to be playing some Yomi and taking a look at this game. So, Nick, what is Yomi?
Yomi is a Japanese term loosely translating to know one's opponent, but Yomi the game is a simulation of a one-on-one fighter. It's such as Street Fighter or Marvel vs. Capcom, where the object of the game is to obviously bring your opponent's health to zero, but it's based around a central rock, paper, scissors mechanic that places emphasis on trying to predict your opponent's moves. So every single move has a counter, but some moves are more desirable than others, and that's the general gist of it.
So this goes a lot into that other video that we did where we were discussing rock, paper, scissors and discussing how useful and important it is and how good really it is. So this game uses it as a central mechanic, and sometimes when people hear something like that, like, oh, rock, paper, scissors, that's not very good, that's got to make a bad game, right? But no, it makes a really good game, and it's not like in spite of being rock, paper, scissors, it's actually because of it.
Usually when we think of bad games anyway, we think of games in which there are certain ways of playing which have absolutely no counters. So
very true. And those are usually, not intentional. Those are just, somebody, didn't notice something while balancing everything.
Yeah.
Anyway. But basically, so what are the standard moves in this game with the basics?
There are 4 moves. There's and you've been seeing them on the screen, just doing their thing.
Well,
for a little bit.
Notably, probably actually, before we say that, it's notable that you have this this hand of cards, and each card has 2 different options on it. Usually there are 2 different options. You can flip them either way, and you pick whatever side is facing your opponent. Or in this...
and that's usually to give you options, too. So you don't just want a whole row of attacks, or you don't want just a whole row of blocks. So each card, you can usually do a lot with, even just a hand of 5. Unless they're all face cards.
And also, notably, this is not a collectible game. This is... every character has their own pre-made deck. It's a different, unique deck for each character. And there's a bunch of characters to pick from, just like a fighting game.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were those basic gameplay options?
There's basic moves. So there's attack, which is self-explanatory. It's the red side of the card. There's 2 defense moves. Block, which you can see they're colored in blue, and dodge, which you can see they're colored in purple. There's also another one that you can't see in Gravesand at the moment called throw, and it works out to attack beats throw, throw beats block or dodge, and block or dodge beats attack. So it's the same sort of rock paper scissors style thing you see in Pokemon. Fire beats grass beats water beats fire, and that.
Except in this case, it ends up being very asymmetrical with these choices, because when you win with any given one of them, they each do different things. So attack is probably the most versatile. You can do a lot with attack. If you hit with an attack, you can usually combo after a lot of them. And with combos, you then go into chaining in additional moves in a specific way. And there's different ways that they link together. With throws, you often can do the same thing, although sometimes they also knock down if you choose not to combo after them. So knockdown is a useful mechanic we'll get into later. And then for the 2 defenses, they're very different. What block lets you do, block is a very useful, safe option for building up your hand. Because if you win with a block, you get to draw a card, and you get to take your block back into your hand and keep it. And block also, on a neutral result, you still get to take your block back and keep it. So you don't really lose anything on a neutral result. And with dodge is totally different. It allows you to do a counterattack. So it's just like doing a combo, except your follow-up attack becomes an ender, so you can't combo after it. so you get 1 counterattack hit after the dodge. Also, I've always found it kind of funny that the icon for dodge is like the Metroid screw attack symbol. That's pretty cool.
I know, I didn't never notice that.
No, I immediately noticed that.
That is pretty awesome, yeah.
Is that like Samus's thing? Anyway,
I don't know. But when you say screw attack, I'm like, oh. It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
Lightning bolt. Or it's Harry Potter's scar.
What about with ties? Tell them how ties work.
Ties work with attacking. When you're attacking or throwing, and both players attack or throw, it works out to speed. So there's a little yellow box just under the number and then the attack or throw thing that itself has a number in it. It's like 3.8 or 5.2 in this case. And different characters have different speeds for attack, but the speed is determined by the number on the card. So for normal attacks, a 2 attack will be 2 point something speed, while a 4 attack will be 4 point something speed, and whichever one is faster, as in whichever one has a lower speed value, that's the time that it takes. Wins during a clash. Yeah.
So the lower speed is faster, and it can go all the way down to 0.0 for the like instantaneous moves. So the speed of the normal moves, which are the things on the 2 through 10s, are preset. So a 2 is always going to beat a 3, but if both characters play a 3, then it comes down to character specifics, like who has the decimal point number. And then the special moves, they can be all over the place. You can have really slow special moves like DeGray's Pile Bunker, or you can have really fast ones like basically the Shoryukens.
The Shoryukens, yeah.
Yeah. So there's we're actually seeing one on screen right now. Midori's Dragon Queen. Well,
which got blocked.
Yeah, but
but it does chip damage, so that's okay.
Yeah. That's another difference between the 2 types of defenses also. Block, you take chip damage. Dodge, you don't. But so some of the attacks are really fast. They're called reversals, and their purpose is, you're feeling like you're... Basically, they beat throws like normal, and they also beat most other attacks, because they're super fast. So you throw that out when you're kind of feeling nervous, like... It's very much like in Street Fighter, how you would wake up with like a Dragon Punch, stuff like that. Yeah. And I just got owned here. So that was that first match. We didn't get to talk about the specifics about that match, but we should probably go into it coming up onto this next one. Okay, so... first, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about Midori? So he's one of the first edition characters. He's kind of basic in a lot of ways, but he's also a little hard to play in a lot of ways. So how does he work?
He works essentially around his dragon form. So he can turn into a dragon. You won't be able to see it depicted on the screen, but you do see it on his face cards. He turns into a dragon. And that sort of works by utilizing blocks. So when he blocks, he draws extra cards, and he builds up face cards which contain the dragon moves, and then uses a dragon form 2, one of the 2 cards, to go into dragon form mode. So, so it's essentially a build-up character, and it's a lot like Geiger also in a way.
So there's an interesting thing that just happened on screen, by the way, just to get into the detail of that match. So what I just played as Geiger, they jokingly refer to that as the man combo. I did 5, 6, 7 attack. So the deal with that is, if you get a straight in your combo, normally that's how you can link your moves. You go from one move into a move of 1 higher for the normal attacks, and then you can also go into linkers or enders. But if you get a straight like that, 5, 6, 7, at the end of combat, you get to take a free ace, and aces are your super moves. You basically hold on to those, and you can unleash them, usually multiple at once, for a super move. So that's why I did that. That's why I did 5, 6, 7. And They call it the man combo because it's a 5 attack, which is pretty slow compared to, Geiger also has a 2 and a 3 attack. But 5, 6, 7 is only 3 in a row straight. So if you want to get that straight, you have to throw a 5, and 5 is, it's risky.
You have to predict a throw to throw a 5 attack.
Exactly. It's not going to be any other attacks really, unless really rare situation. We also saw you use a Joker in that case, by the way. You want to explain how Jokers work in both cases? It's 2 uses?
Jokers have 2 uses. The first and most straightforward is the Gold Burst, where you just put down your Joker in place of a combat card. And
here we see it right here, which case it did not work.
It didn't work, because if your opponent attacks or throws your Joker, then combat ends, the cards are discarded, and you get 2 aces. But if they block or dodge your Joker, then the Joker is discarded, and you don't get 2 aces. And if they dodged, then they get to attack you.
Yeah, their blocker dodge wins in that case. Humorously enough, it's happened a few times. If both players use Jokers, they both get the Gold Burst and get the aces.
Yeah. The great thing about Jokers, though, is that they're pretty much impossible to predict, because aces you can predict because you see players build up for them. And, you can usually predict whether a player wants to throw you or attack you or block you by what they've done before and how many cards they have in their hand. But Jokers are entirely random, dependent on the shuffle of the deck. So
yeah, there's no way to search for them, and there's only 2 of them because 54 card deck. You have up to 2 of them per game, and sometimes you might not even run into any. Here's an instance where we have double throw.
Throw clash, but
yours is way faster.
Mine was fast. Midori has some really fast throws, which sort of ties into the weighted rock paper scissors thing. I'm not sure how fast his attacks are. Is that an 8.2? I think his attacks are 0.2, so he's got some fast-ish attacks, but he hasn't got them on very low cards.
Right.
So attacking isn't really optimal for Midori unless he's using a face card. But throwing is, because he can then knock down an opponent. So he prefers to throw than to normal attack. So
here's an instance where I had 3 aces, and I was able to link into 2 of them. So that move I played, Time Spiral, the slow version of Time Spiral is a linker, and linkers can link into any other moves. And then it just depends on how many combo points you have left. So every character has a number of combo points, which dictates the maximum size of their combo. So Geiger has 4 total, and the Time Spiral was 1, and the super move was 3. And the Time Spiral was a linker, so I could go straight from that into the combo, into the super move, and that was perfectly 4. So that worked out well. Geiger doesn't have particularly strong super moves by themselves, but he does have a special ability that I should probably explain now. So here's how Geiger works. Geiger is a pretty average character in a lot of ways. He's got average health. He's got fairly basic stuff all around. His whole deal is, first of all, his time spirals. So you'll see that on his Jack and Queen cards. Here I'm using another one, slow time spiral, and I'm probably going to do the same thing I did before, go right into the ace, double ace. Yep. So time spirals are what make him really good. They have a special property where if they get blocked, you can make them win combat. Normally attacks are foiled by blocks, but if a time spiral hits a block, you can then win combat if you are then willing to use a throw as well. Yeah. So he can break the rules a little bit like that. And Geiger also has a powered up state called Temporal Distortion, which is he casts it at the beginning of the turn, and then until the next time he gets hit, all his time spirals, they do extra damage, they all count as linkers, and they all use 0 combo points. And they're immune to the combo breaking effect, which we didn't get to. But basically, you can throw all your time spirals into one combo, and then as many time spirals as you have. You just make a giant combo. And yeah, it can do tons of damage, but only if you've, built up. So that's really where a lot of the strategy in this game comes from, and it's something that you really have to learn, is there's a lot of resource management in this game. Especially with Geiger's a great example. Here we can see I'm abusing that 0.0 speed of that one side of the super move to beat out that attack. That was a pretty that was like
that was a choke. I brought you down to 10, and I was on nearly full.
Yeah, that was a run back. So yeah, Geiger, to do well with Geiger, he's a build-up character. You want to use the time spirals because they're good against block.
He likes to block early on, basically, is what it is. And so obviously the counter to that is to throw a lot early on. Except then, the Geiger player will know, oh, he's expecting a block, so he'll throw, so I can attack. It's
Yeah, and that's where the whole cycle of the Yomi mind games really starts to come in. So here you're playing your favorite character. I think that's
my main. It's Zane. He's my main man. He's an anarchist, just like me. Block early on. So, with the block first turn Zane, that's sort of a counter to the ambiguity of not knowing whether you're going to try and attack or...
Yeah, because, so block is one of those options where it's like, it's very safe.
It's the safest option, yeah.
Yeah.
Dodge is a little less safe because you usually have not many dodges. Like, I only have 3 in my hand at the moment, and there aren't very many others. And one of them is attached to an ability, which I want to save. But, if you miss a dodge, then you lose it. So, you don't want to just use dodges haphazardly either, but yeah.
So you have me knocked down here. So knockdown is very important with Zane. Why don't you explain how that works?
Knockdown is what you can see here is my attack beats his block, and the way that works is for knockdowns, you can only block with a card of the same, with an even card against an even attack, or an odd block against an odd attack, because otherwise I think it's called a mix-up.
Yeah, or a cross-up. It's based on the cross-up system in in fighting games. Like you don't know whether to block forward or back or high or low, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I believe the official term in this game is mix-up normal. It only works for normal attacks, also, not special moves.
Yeah.
I like how they saved the critical hit in this replay, even though that has no effect on gameplay. That just means one of us won a free game.
Yeah.
So don't mind that.
For the record, SouthpawHare got a critical hit here when he hit with the flash gear.
Yeah, and I'm a subscriber, so I can't even use the free game. I have all free games. With the knockdown thing, so your blocks get penetrated by normal attacks half the time, basically, and you also can't dodge at all, so it really limits your defensive options. Here's this interesting situation. I hit with my super, but you used Crash Bomb. So how does that work?
That still sort of went to me losing that because I got 20 damage and I only did 10 to you. But Crash Bomb is a move that basically defeats all normal attacks because
all attacks at all, because that was a super move.
Unless it's a super move that does above 10 damage, Crash Bomb is wins out against all attacks. It is a risky move though, because if it gets blocked, then it does damage to Zane.
Yeah, he knocks himself down. He blows himself up.
Yeah.
We don't have so there's no art for Zane's special moves yet, but I like to assume that he's doing like that thing like Demo Man has in TF2, where he has the melee grenade, where he can like run up and hit somebody with the melee grenade and blow both of them up. That's kind of what I picture Crash Bomb.
Except if they're blocking, then he just, tries to hit them with it, or he blows up in his hand or whatever.
Yeah.
It's an interesting... the visuals in this game leave a lot to the imagination, but they do look good.
So here I have you knock down, and I have Temporal Distortion up.
Yeah, so obviously the thing to do is fast attack, because 2.3 beats both of your time spirals, I think.
Yeah.
Except for aces.
So...
But I knew you didn't have those.
So Zane is really fast. So I tried to do some crazy stuff there, and but of course you notice I didn't actually have anything to do a really good Temporal Distortion combo anyway. But yeah, you made me lose it.
Yeah.
I believe this is the point where you comment that you're like, oh, you didn't even have anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I try to be a little bit economical with Creator and Destroyer, because you can, with that card, accidentally give your opponent a good hand if they have it. I've done that a couple of times. I was expecting a flash gear there, because I knew I had just gotten rid of a crappy hand for you, so I assumed you had drawn another one, which you had, but you didn't throw it down straight away.
I actually watch for that specific scenario, like at the start of a match, or after Creator and Destroyer, or after I do research and development. A lot of people expect me to get a flash gear and then immediately use it. And I usually do get a flash gear, but I don't use it, specifically because people expect it.
Yeah. Well, they do expect it for a reason. It's because you like to use it so much.
Yeah. It's a really good move. It does work a lot.
Yeah.
So here's that. I got that set up again. I had you knocked down. I have Temporal Distortion. This time I actually got it. So I hit with a Time Spiral, and these fast Time Spirals are not normally linkers, but now they are. So I can make a combo out of several of them.
So you can end it with a flash gear as well.
And end it. Yep, time kick in the face. That was a pretty close one. I like how it glitches out. It's like, dash wins, blank wins. It's like, who was fighting?
Yeah.
So who do you go to? Oh, right, Onimaru.
Yeah, Onimaru. So when your main fails, go to counterpick, basically.
Well, we
Onimaru...
also made the rule ahead of time where we were going to change characters. Like, every time somebody lost, they have to change characters, just so we could make this video more interesting. So there's a new character every game.
So what we mean when we say counterpick is picking a character which has a distinct advantage over the character your opponent last used. So the big thing here is Geiger likes to block, but Onimaru has a special ability where if his attack is of a higher value card than the opponent's
higher or
block,
equal, actually.
Higher or equal, yeah, to the opponent's block, then it negates the block. It's called Guard Crush. Basically, the block loses to the attack if it's a higher value.
Oh, you should explain this power-up mechanic too, also, because that's important. So you just got 2 aces there. Why was that?
Yes, well, I had at the end of every turn, I am allowed to discard multiples. So, for example, if I have, in that case, 3 4s, I can discard 3 4s and get as many aces
-1.
as 1 less than the number of cards I discarded.
Right.
So if I discard 2 cards, I get 1 ace. If I discard 3 cards, I get 2 aces. But it's only for cards of the same kind. So I can't discard 2 7s and 2 4s and get 3 aces. It has to only count for each time I discard a pair or a triple or a quadruple.
Right. And that's the most common way to get aces. I think I'm looking to do that soon, because you can see I have a couple different pairs. I really want to keep them because they're all pretty useful to me, but I mean, I have 1 ace, and Geiger can't use 1 ace by himself. He'll only use them in sets of 2 or more.
There you see the Guard Crush working?
Yeah.
It works wonders.
So 10 attack is crazy good because it can't be blocked, because it beats all blocks that are lower than it, which is everything.
But it is beaten by almost all attacks, so...
Yes.
It's again the Yomi thing. You only play 10 attack if you're anticipating a block.
And I flash geared a Joker, so you get more aces. So
Yeah.
you have all 4 now.
I have all 4 of these. And you know I do, because you saw me power up for the other two. So that's another thing about this game, is that it's all focused on, I think it was described as
the fundamental...
having knowledge, but limited knowledge of what your opponent can do.
Yeah,
so, for example, every time you power up for aces, your opponent sees you power up for aces, so then your opponent knows that you have the aces.
And they also know what you got rid of to get them, too.
Yes.
It goes along with that they call it the fundamental theorem of poker, which is, in poker, like, how well you're going to do is based on the difference of how you play based on what you know compared to how you would play if you knew everything, like if you could just see their hand. Because you want to play, as close as possible to how you would play if you knew everything, but you don't know everything. So that lack of knowledge is obviously going to hinder you. You want to make it hinder you as little as possible.
Yeah. So, for example, at the beginning of the game, saw you get the ace when you did one of the combos, I think. Or am I thinking of the last game?
I don't recall. I actually was not paying attention just now when I got these aces, but I have 3 of them now, so now.
Yeah, although you did get 2 of them off of a gold burst. So,
okay, and I started with
yeah,
one.
I know you have at least 2 aces in this game at this point.
Yeah, so this is a ace-heavy game. So this happens a lot in Street Fighter also, where it's like both players have their super or their ultra, and they're not necessarily going to just throw it out, but it feels like this looming threat where it's like they could throw it out at any time. It's like this standoff.
Yeah. But then the great thing about this game is that you can also bluff with power-ups. So, for example, if your ace requires you to put down 2 aces, because sometimes it does, you can power up for 1 ace, and your opponent might think that you have another ace in your hand when you don't. And so you can play off of the fact that your opponent thinks that you can do an ace at any time, but you can't.
Yeah, I've done that. So you actually used yours, and you're setting up your army of clockwork robots surrounding me.
Yeah.
So I believe that makes it so that anytime you win with a face card, you're going to remove one of those clockwork soldiers, and you're going to deal an extra 15 damage.
And here's me sacrificing 2 final authorities to win in this combat because the king is slower.
So how does final authority work?
Final authority is basically Onimaru's trump card against Geiger, because Geiger does have some faster specials, such as with the ace. The ace is very fast on Geiger. But final authority, if you have final authority in your hand, you can sacrifice it and another card of the same suit as your attack in order to basically have your attack win against faster attacks.
You dodged my my super move. And I claim that it was totally a good move. I still think it was a reasonably good move, but, I mean, clearly it did not work.
Well, if you say mathematically it's a good move, yeah, it might be a good move mathematically, but, I mean, every move has a counter, and the object is not necessarily to play what's best, but play what you think is going to be... It is what's going to beat what your opponent plays on the same turn. I mean, I can play with saying I can get 50 damage if I have 4 aces, but if it gets blocked, it's 2 damage or 3 damage or something like that.
Yeah, it's just trivial trip damage. So okay, so I'm picking Rook. This is an example of not really a counter pick. We looked it up. This is like a terrible matchup, but I really wanted to play Rook. I didn't really know if it was good
a counter pick, because Rook has like those 5s. You've got 3 of them in your hand. The Stonewall ability, which would defeat it sort of negates Onimaru's Guard Crush.
Yeah, so it's a special block. It's like a reflector shield basically, and Guard Crush does not affect the special blocks. So about that final authority though, that's important to note. So Onimaru, it's another one of those things that I think comes down to a lot of resource management, because when you use Final Authority, you have to be playing a special move, which are the face cards, Jack, Queen, King, and you have to play a Final Authority, and you have to sacrifice a third card that is of the same suit. So you're basically playing, you're paying the cost of 3 very specific cards in order to make your attack automatically win. So it's really good, but it's really costly.
And there are only 4 of them too. So if you like, well, I mean, 4 is a lot when you consider that you have to throw away another card in order for it to work. But if you use them up on combats that aren't really going to matter that much in the big scheme of things, you might not have them when your opponent hits you with an ace, and you could use it. So there's that also.
Here I'm using the, was that, yeah, that was another reflector shield. So, yeah. all of Onimaru's normal attacks do 10 damage, and then they can be pumped by spending an additional card for X damage, which is the rank of the card. So like a 6 can be, it's 10 damage plus another 6 if you pay another card. Yeah. So as you were saying, all of Onimaru's attacks are pretty much going to do 10 damage to himself every time he hits that reflector shield.
There's the gold burst.
Yep, and I paid 2 of my aces to give you 2 of your aces, so that did not work out very well for me.
It didn't. I notice I haven't been using those face cards because I'm scared that you're going to block them, and then my Clockwork Soldiers are going to be all for nothing.
Mm-hmm. But you have quite a few attacks in your hand right now. It's very attack heavy.
Yeah. I do throw you here, though. That was mainly a, oh, he's going to block, I better throw him kind of situation.
Yep.
Because Onimaru's throws, they're not very good, so you don't typically want to throw with Onimaru.
Yeah, so this is another one of these things where all the characters have very unique systems and strategies. Onimaru's whole deal is, so Onimaru is the only character with only 1 combo point, which means he can't combo, literally. He just does single attacks over and over again, but every attack he does is hyper efficient. You know, his attacks do 10 damage each, plus additional. You know, they break through guard. So every single one attack that he does is super good. His throws are not so good. Like, he can pump them for additional damage as well, but they don't knock down.
Yeah, I don't think he can knock down at all.
Final Authority is the only way. When you do Final Authority, not only does it make your attack win, but it also makes it knock down. I believe that's the only way. Or he could block Zane's Crash Bomb.
That's true. You can always block Zane's Crash Bomb.
Yes.
That's what makes it so risky. I used to throw that out all the time, and then I didn't. Because I kept getting knocked down and kept failing. There's like one of those moves. I think you mentioned before De Grey's move called Pile Bunker, which is like a real slow attack, but it does high damage. But
it's a starter too.
Yeah, it's a starter. But so it's like got this really high, you know, it's got this reason for you to throw it out because it does high damage and it's a starter to a combo. So you can combo into something else, and it's a face card, which ties into his special ability, Moral High Ground, which does extra damage, and this will probably go over everyone's heads, but, you know, the point here is that there are certain moves which are sort of designed as only to be used as counters to other moves. So if you were to throw out a Pile Bunker, because it loses to dodges, blocks, and pretty much every single attack, because most attacks will be faster than it.
Yeah, you pretty much have to be assuming there's going to be a throw there.
You have to assume that there's going to be a throw, and most players don't like to throw that often because they're not as efficient as attacking generally. So, so most players only throw when especially early on, when they start playing, most players only throw when they anticipate a block or a dodge. So they have to anticipate you, and then you have to anticipate them anticipating you. And I just beat you.
You did.
Again.
Yeah, so that was you took it 3-2 in this best 3 out of 5.
Yep.
So yeah, like, well, so that's basically. I guess we're out of time basically because we just went through the entire set here. But that's, it's only scratching the surface of this game, which, I love this game. I know you love this game.
Yeah, I do.
There's a lot of, strategical depth to it here. I mean, that's true of, I personally believe that's true of, actual fighting games as well, that this is modeled after. But this is more intuitive because it's, a card game and such.
Well, the difference between this game and Street Fighter is that in Street Fighter you can
mess up the execution. Yeah,
you can mess up the execution.
But yeah, in this it's turn-based. So I guess that's all we have time for. So thanks for watching, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.
Check out the game. You can try it for free.
Yep.